everyone, and welcome to blog 15 of the Tackle the Feelings Before the Behaviour parenting approach. And today's blog, I'm going to be talking about how to say no to your kids. So this is something that's come up a bit in conversations that I've been through at the moment. It's a bit difficult to know which age group to talk about. So I'm just going to try and give you an overview of saying no and try and encompass all the different age groups in a bit of a general way, but just to get those cogs turning and thinking about it, because it's something that I think a lot of people struggle with. And the reason for this is because nobody really reacts very well to being told no. Kids are no exception, and they want their own way, and they're driven by feelings, and they want to do what they want to do. They don't have that sort of thinking and being able to conceptualize why you might be saying no. They just know that they want to do something and you are saying no. Teenagers are actually no exception to this. In fact, they think they know better. So they think you are there to just make their lives absolute hell. So it's a very tricky one. The first thing I want to say is to look at yourself first a little bit here, because I think the reason it's so difficult is because the worst thing in the world for most parents is to see their child unhappy or upset or really angry, especially when that is directed towards you. And the idea of inflicting that feeling, or we take that responsibility that we've made the children feel a certain way, made our children feel angry and upset, it's quite a difficult emotion for you to bear. You have a lot of feelings around that, and a lot of that is guilt. And parenting from guilt and trying to avoid your feelings of guilt can really get in the way of regulating emotions and setting boundaries and structures and teaching your children, because parenting is really about guidance. What you're trying to do is give them life skills so that they can be in the world and be able to function and do what's right for them and keep themselves safe once they get to a certain age where they break away from you. And as they get older and older and the years go by, they get more and more responsibilities, and you negotiate and work out when is best for your child to do their own thing, when, where. So that's something you feel your way around. You look at other people, you look at their ages, you sort of go on your gut feelings. It's difficult. But saying no is paramount. It is something that we battle to do. A lot of us battle to do in life. It's about setting boundaries for yourself and teaching people how to respect boundaries, your boundaries, and boundaries for themselves. So you need to teach them how to accept no so that they are able to say no later on, so they don't get themselves into situations where they really don't want to be in those situations. And a lot of it is around sort of helping your children find values, helping your children gauge what safety is, what all of that stuff that you are saying no for is in their best interest. Remind yourself what you are saying no for is in their best interest, or in the best interest of the family unit. So without further ado, my tip for saying no is actually not to just go out and say no. Try to avoid "because I said so" sort of comments, because especially when they're little, because that is very limiting and restrictive. And the first thing that anybody who feels limited and restricted is going to feel that they are being dismissed in some way, that their wants and needs are being dismissed, is they're going to want to rebel. They're going to get defensive. They're going to get angry. They're going to get a range of different emotions that aren't going to be very respectful of what you are saying. So the first trick of the trade is to, especially when they're little, instead of just saying no, I want you to say what you would prefer them to be doing. Make that a common rule. So, for instance, your child is hitting the dog. You do need to say the word no, but you also need to explain why hitting the dog is wrong. So instead of saying "don't hit the dog," say "no, pat the dog gently. gently, softly. You might hurt the dog. Come, let's do it gently. The dog will get upset and he'll hurt him, and he might bite you and hurt you back. So you want to be gentle. He's our friend. And really encourage what the correct behavior is. If they're wanting something in the shop and they're temper tantruming, explain that. Say, no, I can't buy you that because you've already had a lolly today, and I don't want you to have any more sugar because sugar is not very good for you. So if you're hungry, we can eat something when we get home. But the answer is no. Now, things like wanting something from the shop and all that is a bit different from the petting the dog situation, because you can teach them empathy and they can understand and they can still touch the dog. You're just teaching them the appropriate behavior with the dog. But when it's something that they want, or they want to go out, or they want to keep playing, and you're putting in those boundaries, you've explained why, while you're doing it, quickly explaining why, where it's bedtime or whatever, you'll be too tired. This is the rule in the house. Bedtime is this time and it's past this time. All of that type of thing. You've got to manage that. You've got to put those boundaries up with full expectation that you're going to get a performance, that something's going to happen, that they're not going to be happy with you. You've got to find a way to accept that. The best thing for you to do is, if they're little and you just keep going, is to remain calm, stick to your guns, and just keep doing what you need to do, whether they're crying, whether they're screaming, whether they I hate you and all of that stuff. You keep going calmly. If you're not able to walk away because you still have to be involved in the process, then you need to remain calm, and you need to not want to attend to making them feel better about that. You keep the rule going without reactions. Don't meet them with anger. Don't punish the reaction. Say to yourself in your head, they are angry. They're angry because of this. They'll move on from this anger, but they need to be with that anger because they need to learn about anger. And they need to learn how to deal with being angry. So it's okay. It's okay that they're angry, and they're going to be angry at me because I'm not here to be their best friend. I'm not here to be liked all the time. I'm here to love them, to keep them safe, to teach them the correct things. I need to be the person who guides them, not to be guided by them, because they don't have the skills to guide themselves. They think they do. Even teenagers, they think they do have those skills. But the important thing is that you give them the reason, or give them the solution. Don't just impose a rule without attending to why that rule is being imposed. You are always the educator in your home. So saying no means that you need to learn how to manage that reaction of having them upset and angry, and your own guilt, or whatever comes up for you. If you are able to walk away and take a moment and do something nice for yourself, positive self-talk is a great way to remind yourself, keep what I'm just saying, what I said before about anger or being upset. They need to learn about this emotion. It's important that they do. It's important that you become a credible person, that you don't say no, and they are able to manipulate you enough for you to change your mind. 10 more minutes, 10 more minutes. Over-negotiating can be a real trap. It's a common trap. So negotiate, yes. Say they don't want to eat their vegetables. Negotiate that you need them to eat X amount of vegetables, and then they can leave the rest. So it's not all about your rule, your rule, your rule, and impose, because that isn't really good. It's not teaching them skills to negotiate. You want to teach those skills as well, but it's not about giving in. Giving in is going to bite you in the bum later on. You need to keep with your rule, but hear them out. If there needs to be a discussion around it, hear them out. But when it comes to their safety, no negotiation. If you're not happy with them going somewhere or doing something, a behavior that is dangerous or you perceive as dangerous or inappropriate for their age, you got to wear them being upset. That's the bottom line. You've got to find a way to be okay with feeling guilty that they're feeling upset because of what you've said, but also knowing in your head and in your heart that you are doing what's best for them, that you want their happiness, that later on they will thank you. A lot of the times you've got to realize that these thank yous that you know you'll get are going to take some time. You might even never get them, but when you watch them flourish in the world and grow and learn how to set personal boundaries and get in positive relationships and work towards careers, you'll realize that's your thank you. That will be your thank you, making them feel safe in the world so that when they leave the nest one day, they are confident, headstrong individuals who know what they want, they know who they are, they trust their decisions, they trust you. It's developing trust in you. So saying no is incredibly important. Having routines and structure in the house and rules are very important. Too many rules, too much rigidity can have just as bad effect as no rigidity. You want to make this work in a way with always bearing in mind that this is keeping them safe, not squashing their individuality. You don't want to be saying, no, you don't color in the sky blue, I'm green, it should be blue. Those types of things aren't helpful. Those aren't keeping them safe. Let them have expression where they can in their creativity. But when it comes to behaviors and when it comes to what they're eating and what they're doing and how they're affecting other people and what they're doing in regards to keeping themselves safe, you don't want to be allowing them to eat cupcake after cupcake after cupcake, not just because you'll be dealing with that sugar rush, but because all that sugar is bad for them. Teaching them bad eating habits of overindulging, they will resent that later on. So having rules, having structures, really putting plans in place for your children is helping your children, even if it doesn't feel like it at the time. So when you say no, I'll just say this again. Remember to give them what they should be doing as well. If you can avoid saying no and rather just saying the behavior that you would like. So if they're doing something outside and they should be doing it inside, instead of saying don't do it inside, rather say, come, let's do it inside. It's less messy, or it's cold outside, or whatever the situation is, vice versa. So if you can avoid saying no and rather just guiding them with the right behavior, do. If it's something that you need to really enforce discipline in, then it's no and why. I know it can be exhausting, but you do need to explain it, because even if it takes quite a few times, and incorporate this slowly, build this up. New rules, don't inundate them with a million new rules in your home. Work at it. Do it slowly. Keep your eye on things, and like I always say, and what I will say again, because it's really important, the more prep work, the more groundwork you do around emotions, around anger, around sadness, around all those things that are relevant. Maybe jealousy is something you need to talk about. Maybe sharing is something you need to talk about. Maybe bedtimes and why we need sleep is something that you need to talk about. Really putting in that groundwork ahead of time so that you have something to fall back on, or that they understand it and you don't have to do giant explanations in the moment. The groundwork's done. It's a reminder when the situations arise. That is your best way to tackle things. So putting in that time, that quality time with your kids to teach them life skills before the situations arise is really helpful. Giving them solutions in the moment, giving them explanations in the moment is really helpful. And acknowledging your difficulty in things. Being that person for yourself, helping yourself through the difficulties of the emotions that are going to arise for making your children less than happy with you. Those are the best ways to say no to your children. And remember, routine and structure is so important. It helps children to feel safe in the world. It helps them to feel guided. And when they have those limits, think of it like your big angel wings around them. You set your boundaries, and they have the freedom inside those wings to explore. But there's still that safety net. Especially the younger they are, the more rigid those wings are, that you keep your wings around your kids. So I hope that's been helpful. Ask questions if you need to. Bye.